Some conversations change everything. They're the moments when words feel heavy, silence lingers, and there's no easy way to soften what comes next. For parents and caregivers, some of the hardest conversations involve trying to explain loss. Not just within a family, but in a world where children are increasingly exposed to these topics at a younger age through social media and a 24/7 news cycle. Dr. Elena Lister is no stranger to these difficult moments. Lister is a practicing adult, adolescent, and child psychiatrist at New York Presbyterian Hospital in New York City. She's also a faculty member at Columbia University and Cornell University and is a mother to 2 daughters. In her book, Giving Hope, she shares how her younger daughter, Liza, was diagnosed with terminal leukemia as a child, and how this diagnosis reframed her perspective on aging and death.
I think in general, our culture is death avoidant. And we're also aging avoidant. And if you just walk into any general large chain drugstore, you'll see rows of anti-aging creams. And, we all, I think, feel very uncomfortable with the idea that things are impermanent, that life is not going to last. And while we know it intellectually, we don't like to think about it and we don't like to talk about it.
After the diagnosis, Lister remembers some of the candid conversations she had with her daughter's classmates. She explained that Liza was very sick and wasn't going to live much longer, but that her family was making the most of the time she had left. The kids shared their own feelings and then asked questions. Some asked if Liza was nervous, if she was in pain, or if she'd ever come back to school. As a listener, you might be asking, why go into such detail with young kids?
What we have found over decades of experience, as well as what we believe, is that, in fact, the not talking about it is what leads kids to be more anxious. And I've had personal experience with this as well as professional, that when you can bring it out and talk about it with a child, they get the chance to ask their questions, to tell you what they're thinking, and to feel not alone with it, so they get less scared. So that protective instinct that comes from such a well-intentioned place actually ends up impairing a child in terms of dealing with what is an inevitable reality, sadly, in life.
As a psychiatrist and grief expert, she helps parents have these hard discussions. And these moments don't just come up when there's a loss in the family. They can happen after a prominent public death, a natural disaster, or a school shooting. All events that adolescents increasingly hear about on their own. According to Common Sense Media, children and teens now spend about 8 hours a day on their phones. Experts say that this level of exposure means many kids are encountering stories about death and violence on their own, often without the context or reassurance that an adult can give.
A decision that every parent has to make individually, but what we recommend is that if it is something that a child is inevitably going to hear about, which these days is probably most things, because even if they don't find it out on the internet by themselves, they might find it out from their 19-year-old cousin or somebody else, that you to open up the conversation with the child about it.
Lister says many parents underestimate just how much children already know and can sense.
We all want to spare our children upset, but there is no sparing upset about loss. It happens in our lives. And very importantly, if you as an adult who's taking care of a child are experiencing some sort of loss, if you don't choose to talk with a child about it, they're still going to sense that something is up with you. You're not yourself, no matter how hard you try to hide it and put on a smile and stiff upper lip. But children are really perceptive. They sense that something is off.
While it's important to give children context and clarity, is there an age where they're just too young?
We're generally thinking of a 3-year-old and up for any of these kinds of situations, because once a child is in school, They are around other children who may be talking about things. An internet may be accessible.
Research from the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development supports this approach, saying that vague explanations can heighten anxiety in young children who tend to fill in gaps with their imagination.
If a child is asking for more information, it means that they need it, and you offer what they ask. I suggest you answer what they ask and you don't answer more. Sometimes when we're nervous, we fill in the blank with lots of talk. So I say stay very, very close to what the child is asking.
When having tough discussions, one tip is to put away distractions like phones and tablets and gather as a family. This shows that the news is being faced by everyone together. Another tip is to bring backup. Ideally, this means having another trusted adult present who can step in if emotions run high. When talking about death, Lister says explain what happened and then pause. Children need more time to process information than adults.
Expect the unexpected, and meaning that they may have not at all. You thought that a particular child was going to break down in tears because they really, really, really were very close to Grandpa Paul. But it turns out that they just look at you, kind of mute, and then say, "Can we have mac and cheese for lunch?" And that's okay, because it takes a while to process things, because every child has their own reaction. Two siblings, one may cry and the other may not. And we want to advocate that you convey that that's fine. It doesn't mean that one sibling loved the person more than the other. It is just the reaction that each of them are having right then.
When answering questions, if you don't know how to answer in the moment, she says to be upfront with this feeling and circle back later.
It is fine to say to a child, I really want to answer that question and talk about it with you, but I need a few minutes to think about it. So how about if we come back to that question after lunch? And then, of course, you must come back to the question after lunch, even if you're still feeling a little uncertain. But it gives you a chance to kind of sort yourself out about how you might want to answer. Secondly, if let's say you do answer it and you weren't prepared, and then you think, oh gosh, I really botched that. Well, welcome to the human race. We all, as parents, botch things at times. So because it's not one conversation, it's many, you have the chance to go back to your child and say, when I was talking with you about Grandpa Joe and how he died, I don't feel really like I handled that well. I'd like to revisit it. Let's talk about it some more.
Oftentimes, one of the most difficult questions to answer is, did the person suffer when they died?
You can say, depending on the reality, it did not hurt when Grandpa Joe died. Or that Grandpa Joe's had a lot of pain. The pain went away when he died, because indeed, we believe that people don't feel pain after they die. So you want to offer something to your child, I believe, that is truthful, but also has an element of reassurance in it. Another thing that you could do is kind of think to yourself, why is my child asking this particular question? Why might they want to know if it hurt? And maybe they're just feeling a lot of empathy for Grandpa Joe, or maybe they're worried about when they hurt.
In the days and weeks after, she encourages parents to pay close attention and see how their child is coping. Grief can look different depending on age and personality, but persistent changes in sleep, behavior, or mood may signal a need for extra support.
When you would want to try to involve a professional or ask a professional whether it might be time for their involvement, might be 4 to 6 weeks after a significant loss, when a child is still demonstrating those things and cannot engage in regular life. They cannot stay in school yet. They're not sleeping. They're not eating. Maybe they've regressed. They've begun to wet the bed again or talk in baby talk. If those things are going on for more than 4 to 6 weeks, at that point, we think it's worth an adult in that child's life asking pediatrician, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a social worker, the school counselor, a religious person. This is what I'm saying. Do you think they need more support?
Lister emphasizes that what matters most isn't having the perfect words, but being present, honest and open as a parent or caregiver. To learn more about this topic and our guest, Dr. Elena Lister, visit viewpointsradio.org. Also, check out her book, Giving Hope, Conversations with Children About Illness, Death, and Loss, available online and in bookstores. This segment was written and produced by Amirah Zaveri. Our studio managers are Jay Silvers and Jason Dickey. I'm Marty Peterson.